Look at this coastline. High cliffs, dark water, and total isolation. It's the perfect spot for tourists looking to get off the beaten path and find a cheap thrill. That thrill comes in the form of the Tucker experience. A local guy named Tucker puts eager divers into a flimsy metal cage and drops them right into the deep. You can see how exposed they are down there in the dark water. Decades of creature features have trained us to know exactly what happens next. The water gets chummed, the cage breaks, and a massive apex predator turns a vacation into a buffet. Then there's Zafir. As you can see from her lone camper van parked by the beach, she prefers the quiet. She's an isolated surfer who seems primed to play the standard slasher movie victim. We are handed all the predictable tropes of a generic horror movie. The film sets us up to wait for the jaws to snap, building a totally false sense of security. But the shark never attacks the tourist couple. Instead, the real violence comes from the boat. Out of nowhere, Tucker pulls a knife, brutally murders the boyfriend, and drags the girlfriend, Heather, away as a hostage. Tucker treats the vast, empty ocean as a private harvesting ground where he can orchestrate twisted snuff films for his own entertainment. He tracks Zafir, weaponizing her desire to be left alone. He corners her in a sudden, violent ambush, knocks her out, and drags her into his deadly game. The survival struggle moves from the open water to the interior of a boat, pitting the characters against a calculated, psychopathic human predator. Once Tucker suspends Heather over the water and tosses in a bucket of blood, she completely loses it. She thrashes against her restraints in absolute desperate panic. This diagram breaks down the film's core biological rule. Sharks operate on hardwired instincts, triggered to strike when detecting chaotic vibration rings of a panicked animal. Heather's thrashing sends a massive signal. The waves multiply rapidly. The shark locks onto that frequency and strikes. Later, Tucker tries the exact same trick on Zafir's friend, but the friend figures out the rule. When dropped into the chummed water, he goes completely dead weight. He stays perfectly calm, and the shark ignores him entirely. This survival mechanic reduces the shark to a natural machine, one that Tucker weaponizes for premeditated murder. Down in the hull of the boat, Zafir takes a completely different approach. She refuses to freeze up or succumb to the hopelessness that broke the other women. She immediately goes on the offensive. She smashes a plastic bucket to craft a jagged knife, attempts to drug Tucker, and fights him barehanded. When she realizes her wrists are too wide to slip through the cuffs, she stops trying to pick the lock. She literally snaps her own thumb bone and tears through the remaining flesh with her teeth as she pulls violently to slide her hand free. Outsmarting a predator operating outside of any societal rule means Zafir must tap into a pure, self-mutilating ferocity. Enraged by her defiance, Tucker sets up his grand finale. He hoists a battered, bleeding Zafir over the side of the boat to serve as live bait for the biggest great white he can find. Take a close look at the physical details and sheer scale of this great white. When Zafir falls in, she is face to face with an immense, ancient predator in its own territory. But Zafir doesn't panic. As the shark drifts inches from her face, she notices a massive, jagged scar along its flank. It's a man-made wound. The shark, just like her, is a survivor of human cruelty. Because Zafir remains perfectly still, the shark glides right past her. She grabs a harpoon, climbs back up, and spears Tucker, sending him plummeting straight into the bloody water below. Tucker dies exactly how he killed. He is torn apart by his own weaponized environment, and in a twisted stroke of justice, the entire fatal sequence is captured perfectly on his own recording equipment. At the start, Dangerous Animals feels like a warning about what lives in the ocean. But as we've seen, sharks are driven by simple biological instinct and self-preservation, devoid of any cruelty. Tucker represents the alternative, calculated, psychotic malice, practiced purely for the sake of watching others suffer. Zafir survived because she matched that malice with an unbreakable human will, outlasting both the isolation and the killer. In this environment, nature isn't the primary enemy. The most dangerous animals on Earth are the ones walking on two legs.